Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Marie and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm again here without Coach Sam Marie, but in his replacement, I have a really special guest that I've been trying to line up for a long time. And guys, schedules are very hard. So line up, especially when you're not living ultra close to each other. But Christy Link here made a nice trek up to CrossFit Bison on a Thursday afternoon to speak with me on the Herd Fit Podcast. And if you don't know Christy Link, you have probably not been doing CrossFit a long time in the state of New Jersey, especially. She is she just is a former owner of Brazen Athletics, a 14-year owner.
Yeah. Wow. Cheers.
That is a number, Addie. Very few people here. Chrissy, how are you?
Good. And I'm honored to be here. When you DM'd me honestly, I felt a little celeb-like. I was like, yes, it better be on the podcast. So, yes, thank you for having me.
This is a conversation that I'm selfishly very much looking forward to, because when I opened up CrossFit Bison with Chris DeFaro back in 2014, we started the process in 2012, and we've touched on that story before, how long it took. There were a few gyms, and I'm really only have about 3 of them in mind, that I looked at and I was like, hey, if we do it right, we could be like them someday. We could be at that level. And it was CrossFit Hoboken, where I started. It was CrossFit 908, and we've had Tim Carroll on before, and it was Brazen Athletics. And Brazen Athletics from afar, and I don't know too much about the inner workings. I just remember seeing them at competitions, and they had the first thing that had stood out. I want to get your answer on this. Was it strategic? The colors, their gym colors were purple and orange, and you just knew that they were there. A, because of the colors. B, they were very strong. They were always the heaviest lifters at every competition. And C, they loved each other. I mean, it was culture 101. If you want to sustain a successful CrossFit gym, that I would say, if there's one thing I took from Brazen as an early gym owner, it was that these guys loved each other, and they were there. They showed up for each other. They did a lot for each other. And here we are all these years later, and I've never really had a lot of conversation with Chrissy over these days. So it's just, I'm really looking forward. There's a lot I'm going to be learning with you guys in our conversation. So my business partner and co-host here on the Herd Fit Podcast, Sam, he calls it the CrossFit Start Story. I think it's important for context to just kind of open the door to why and when you actually started CrossFit, and why and when that led to you wanting to own a gym.
Well, first of all, thank you for including me in your, general 3 gyms that you dig of. And I'm going to say the same for CrossFit Hoboken anyway. And you guys, when I think of CrossFit gyms in New Jersey, like, you guys are the ones that stand out as, the original and the OGs, the strong communities, and who've really made an impact in this area. What was the question again?
So just when and why did you start CrossFit, and then when and why did that lead to, hey, I want to open up a gym? Was that a lifetime goal of yours to own a business, to own a gym? How into fitness for you?
Yeah, it was not part of a plan. I'm also not trying to be the person who really has a life plan. Like, I was like, oh, I can imagine my wedding day looking like this. So it was not part of the plan. I, at the time, was teaching yoga, and that was I've always been into fitness, from doing Denise Austin on TV to Bally Toll Fitness to yoga. Then my next step was getting my RYT 200, being a yoga teacher. And then that was my main source of fitness, the power yoga classes. And then someone I was dating at the time started doing CrossFit, and I'm like, oh, let me come and watch. And I really had no interest, and I was in the corner just doing my yoga stretches, I'll work out, whatever. And then, so you probably remember, I don't know if you remember this, the first regionals, which was at Gorilla Fitness.
Yep.
And at the time, regionals was just this unstructured. I think there was just a couple gyms who were like, hey, do this competition.
Right.
Everyone did different workouts. So if you were there, I was there, we did different workouts. So it was not even comparable. So I showed up Gorilla Fitness, and a couple of the OGs, Denise Thomas, Carrie Ann Appens.
Wow.
They were there, and they just lifting these barbells and doing these pull-ups. And I was just like, I need to do this. But that cool. I was like, I didn't, just seeing them up there, I would say they were my inspiration to start. And
So the female presence, the women presence is really okay, watching, those guys do that, cool. But then watching them is really what kind of turned on the light.
Yeah, that was definitely the light bulb for me. Just seeing the girls up there doing pull-ups, their arms are like ripped and, yeah, 100%.
Cool. Did you have, you said you were into fitness. Was there a sport background, a training background as you were growing up, or you're just like, you would say, term yourself as active and just?
I played sports in high school. Basketball is my main sport. Softball. I was in the marching band for a hot second. And then in college, I actually got into competitive snowboarding. So I did the East Coast pro circuit for a little bit. So kind of non-traditional competitive sport. But I was always just at the gym, just global gym, like machines, not really knowing what I was doing, just hoping this was making me stronger. And I think it did. That could lend for me a lot. But I never had like structure, aside from like when I started taking a yoga class that taught me like structured movement. But so it was always in my life in some part, just not very structured.
It's competitive snowboarding. See, that's something I never knew about you. I like the more I'm going to talk to you today, and just in general, the more you learn. Like you're a very interesting background, and I think that goes to show what kind of person can actually take on a task of opening up a gym from scratch because you kind of like it, you want to help some people, and it turned into a major success story because you have to go with the flow. That is what this is all about.
Yeah.
Old school CrossFit. We just mentioned old school CrossFit a couple of times, right? You just saw Coach Mike, who's coaching on Thursday midday right now. She might actually hop into the 1 p.m. everyone.
I know. I'm not
doing, Mike's not.
touch.
Don't write our score the way, boy.
Don't write my score.
It is crazy to me, and I've been doing it less than you in terms of time, how much things have changed, A, in CrossFit, the B, in our world. During the time that you opened up a gym, from then till now, the social media explosion.
Oh, yeah.
And the awareness of fitness and the viewpoints of lifting and women working out. I always say women in CrossFit changed the landscape of fitness forever. And I think that's something all of you can hang your hat on, whether you coach on or just do it. I think I really do feel that way. Can you touch on what it was like, what CrossFit was like back then? Because you know both. You know what it was like back then and what it is currently now, just in terms of how different it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think for anyone who had any sort of competitive athletic background, when you found this CrossFit type of workout, it was literally like crack. Like it was like crack for people who don't do drugs. And you were just addicted and you couldn't wait till the next day. And I remember at the time, workouts were posted on like blog posts on like WordPress. So, you manually post the workout, and the gym I was going to at the time, Goal of Fitness, I would sit there and refresh the night before. I was looking for the workout. And it was like I was competing in the Super Bowl the next day. I was like, I'm going to get ready for these kidding things. Like, it was crazy. You just got so excited about this workout. And like, and you went in every day and you gave like 110%. Like, it was just go, like, because it was just this new, fun, exciting thing and you can now be all of a sudden be competitive with it, right? So if you were a former competitive athlete, like you can now get that competitive feeling back. And yeah, it was just like, and it's good for you. So you're like, this is a no-brainer. I'm in, like.
Yeah, it checks so many boxes.
Yeah.
One thing about CrossFit back then, and I don't even know if this is good or bad, but it was very not structured. With programming and coaching, there wasn't a lot of content out there to really learn. I mean, even when I started a couple of years after that, I could go onto YouTube and find a video of a thruster if I forgot what it was, or a squat clean, but now, I mean, this is night and day. The amount of content that you can really teach yourself and watch others do. There was something raw about that I really do think helped CrossFit, because it wasn't necessarily about how you compare to others. Like, you kind of were all learning the same thing at one. There wasn't as much like RX plus, RX scale competing. Now it's just like, bro, show up, go hard, give a high five, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Did you kind of, when you started Brazen, what was the number one motivator to actually wanting to start off your own community in that regard? Was it, I want to help other people, connect them, get them fitter. I want to put my spin on what I think CrossFit should be. Like, what was the main pull to actually opening up Brazen?
I think, definitely just sharing this with others, because I was always a believer in movement, and yoga taught me a lot, even more just about mind-body connection and how important movement is. So I was really grateful to have that training under my belt before I did my level 1 and got into CrossFit, because it just taught me a lot about how the body moved. But felt how good movement made me feel. And I just wanted to share that, first of all. And then it was something that I really, really liked. So it kind of just like happened hand in hand. Like, again, it wasn't part of the plan, but it just made sense that this is what should be happening. And in all honesty, there wasn't not much of a plan. We didn't have a business plan. If you're looking for advice on how with business, do not take that advice today. But we didn't have a plan. We just went with our gut, and we were passionate about it. We knew we wanted to share it with others, and we really trusted that and just went full force with that.
Those are my favorite success stories, and I like seeing anyone succeed in anything they want to do, especially if it includes a lot of hard work and ambition. But the ones where you kind of just walk into a room with the lights off and you're just going to keep walking even though you don't know where the walls are in any direction and you don't know if there's a hole in the ground, you're just walking. And I think that takes a certain kind of personality to do that. Like, there's an amount of bravery there, ambition, I already said, and just belief in yourself. But also what makes this awesome in terms of a business is that you truly believe in the product. You aren't a CrossFit coach and athlete that just told people what to do while you went back to yoga and bodybuilding in the gym. You were in the trenches with them. And that's where I think you could really show passion. Was that something that you really were even actively trying to do? Or you're like, no, I'm not trying to sell anything. I just want to be here and be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I guess, you are selling it, but it doesn't feel like that because it's what I believe. And and I think that's why I can never sell cars, because I mean, okay, I like this car, but I'm passionate about selling cars, so it is sales. Obviously, it's a business. You need people in there. You need to make money. But it didn't feel like a sleazy sales pitch, because I'm like, this is amazing. This is going to help you feel better. This is going to help you feel better in life. And you're going to have fun. Like, believe it or not, you're going to have fun working out, doing it. So it doesn't, it didn't feel like I was like sleazy salesman.
Group fitness was not a new thing when CrossFit really took off, but I do think CrossFit took it to the next level. And I remember growing up, working out was either for sports, like trying to get stronger, or something that you feel like you had to do.
Yeah.
It was like, if I don't, X, Y, Z will happen. If I don't, I can't fit in these pants anymore. If I don't, I can't take my shirt off at the pool anymore. That's why I work out. It's not CrossFit, especially, Brazen especially, from my viewpoint, it was just fun to be around each other. At what point, if you remember anything, you might not have an answer to it, did it feel like, okay, passion, helping people, I love it, we got to run a business here. We need to make money if this is going to be sustainable. To pay our bills, pay ourselves, pay other people. Were there any moments where like, hey, we have to now change this into a business model, even without calling it that? Just like, or was it just always, hey, just keep doing what we're doing and those good things will come?
Yeah, I mean, I feel fortunate that we got into the game pretty early. I mean, we didn't have a sign on our door. Like, that's like, yeah. And people just came, and that was just a lucky, good chain of events that we were early on in the game, and it was this new thing that everyone was coming into. So I think we probably developed more like just policies and procedures, but I don't think necessarily a different business plan. I would say that might have happened after COVID.
Okay.
That was trying to, when you're like, all right, we need to, or during COVID, that was a whole new player.
We'll get. How did you grow then? I mean, because social media wasn't that big back then.
It wasn't that big. Honestly, it was word of mouth. Like, we just done on marketing, and we tried flyers. We tried like whatever was around like back then. It feels so old saying. Dating myself. Yeah. Or the mailers, like the mailers.
Yeah. The newspaper ads.
Flyer in Starbucks or something. But I think it really was just word of mouth. And again, CrossFit was just this new thing that people were looking for CrossFit. So, if you opened up and people found you and they came and then they liked you, they stayed. So it was the timing, honestly, we just got an early time. You guys as well,
right place, right time.
Yeah.
I always saw any success story, there is some luck involved, no matter what.
100%.
And timing is everything. We get a lot of this stuff. The other, I would say, most important part to growing, because you can't do everything yourself forever, right? We can call it burnout, which is something we talk about here all the time with coaches, make sure people don't get overworked. And how did you build a staff? Like, what did you, without giving any secret sauce, right? But like, or getting too personal even, what did you find in people that said, hey, I now want you to represent something that I built from scratch. My life kind of is on the line with the success and lack of success in these walls. What did you start building a staff right away, or did you wait an X amount of time?
We definitely waited a little bit. I don't know how long, because the years now really gave but it wasn't right off the bat. I think it became once we noticed some people's in class and members who, caught on to things a little quicker, just understood the concepts a little quicker. But honestly, the bottom line was that they were good people. Like we knew we could teach someone how to coach. Yeah. You can't teach someone to be a nice person. So if you're a dick, and you're a good coach, it's not valuable, So if we see you're a good person and you're willing to learn and you understand the concepts, relatively, easily, that's kind of who we had our eyes on. You just had the conversation. Are you interested? And we never had like a structured intern program. It was very like case specific. It was like, all right, sit in a corner, write some notes down, just like notice class from a different perspective, and then shadow the coach, and then all right, see if you can help that person in their air spot, like kind of just easing people in. Okay, now need a warm up, and so everyone was like a little different. It wasn't like, oh, you have to put in like 70 hours on the floor or this manual. So it was very loosely structured, case by case internship program. But everybody at first was a member, including Jeff, who now owns Brazen. He started as a member in Fairfield, which is super cool. Head coach, and now he owns the. But there was, and actually I think Lynn reached out to Liz at one point because I was a little struggling for some coaches. Had just moved, and schedules changed. So I ended up hiring 2 coaches that weren't Brazen members. People I knew, just, not Brazen members. And didn't work out, not for any bad reason. They just got a new job or the schedule changed. So it was just kind of like reinforcement. And this is not for every but this is just how it worked for us that, all right, it has to be from inside because gave it a try, didn't work. It's, it's just got to be that internal intern process.
Yeah, when you don't have a structured intern program, which I do think can be a little overrated by, like, when I talk to affiliates, they show me this, like, 8-point presentation and all these points. Like, hey, you do want to have things to hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes the structure is kind of like, it takes you away from the natural state of what this place is. I mean, I actually think the internship program starts before you even ask the person to coach.
Yeah.
Like we've had most people, I think all of our members, and minus Mike's a unique case because we knew him back from the day in Hoboken. So where there was a 2-year CrossFit relationship there, but they were members. They've been here for a long time. They know how we go about things, the good and bad of this place.
Yeah.
And that is in itself kind of like a structured internship. And it's probably a much safer approach than trying to peel people from the outside.
Yeah, and they're already a part of the community. So
right.
It's just like, okay, now you're just stepping onto the other side. People know them, and, it's going to be easier transition as opposed to a complete stranger coming in.
And touching on that, let me move on to the next topic, because this is something that we've, I don't want to say dealt with, but I'd like to see if you had to. When you make someone a member a coach, was there ever any, I don't want to call it hostility because that's too strong of a word, but was there ever any, like, I've been doing CrossFit 3 years longer than that guy or that girl, and he or she's coaching me now? Like, did you ever have to deal with that? Or is it more like, hey, because you endorsed this new coach, it kind of just took all the fluff away?
A little bit of both. There's a bit like a little, not I don't want to say kickback, but just like, question you thought it. It's been very minimal. But, I think the answer we've given is that we can't be in every place all the time. And, we need some help. And obviously someone who's been doing CrossFit for 2 years is not going to have the experience as someone who's been doing it for 12 years. Right. But they'll get there, and like every class they'll get better and they're under our belt and we're teaching them. So, yeah, it's been here and there. Not for the most part, people have just trusted our, decisions and who we're putting up there. But a little bit of that. They never turned into anything like super major, though.
It's also, I always say, it's always important for an owner to be involved in the gym, because if you didn't live there, let's say you lived in Florida and you lived up at a gym in New Jersey, and you were picking coaches from Florida, like, you don't always know, like, the pulse of the gym, and does that person fit in, not just as a member, community member, but also, like, can they go take over a room? Do they have relationships outside of the gym that could really mess this place up? Like, and again, you never know with any person, ourselves included. You never know, but I think the fact that you started it from scratch, you were there from the beginning, you care so much about it, that usually does take care of, 99% of any sort of, negative feedback that you would get on any coach you'd ever hire.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to run a place from a different state. And I've heard of gyms in the past, so I'm sure you have too, or that are no longer there, but it doesn't even make sense to me. Like, why would anyone listen to you if I'm calling you from Broward? Like, it's just, there's no...
It's a relationship
connection, yeah.
It's a relationship business. It really is. Now, so you guys take off. You got a great culture. You're doing well. You're happy. And I think every gym that has some level of success after a few years, you do start thinking about, hey, should we open up a set? Could we actually run it back and do this exact same thing somewhere else? And there are good and bad. There are success stories and failure stories in anything within CrossFit. And I know gyms that have done this and they've done well. I know gyms that have I would never do that again. We've talked about it a few times here. And predominantly the people I ask advice for, they're like, don't do it. Can you touch on, because you guys opened up another one, can you kind of peel back the curtain a little bit on why that was it a necessity or was it a luxury? Like, hey, we're doing so well, let's do this again. Or like, hey, we need to pick it up a little bit. Let's go try this somewhere else.
Yeah, it was like, this is working. Let's do it again.
Yeah, right. Let's go back into the fire.
So easy. Let's just snap our fingers and do this again. But again, it was kind of something that had just worked out. My former business partner knew of this gym in Hoboken because he used to live above it. And it was just, if anyone lives in Hoboken, it was 24-hour Supreme Fitness. There forever.
Yep.
Each sanction. Yep. Just old machines. Yeah. And he approached the owner if he felt like getting rid of it. And your owner was like, yeah. He's like, we're like, okay, we'll take it. Like, and like, that's really kind of the gist. Obviously, much more paperwork and lawyers in doing, but yeah, he was kind of done with it. And so it wasn't even available space. We just kind of inquired and it went out. So that was, again, it's another kind of, all right, it works. Let's just go with it. So, and we opened that gym on credit cards. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Great. That happens a lot.
We went to get a loan and like, oh, here's $10,000. We're like, oh, thanks. It's been on.
That's a few barbells.
So we literally opened the credit cards. And again, it was still pretty new. So, and it was Hoboken. So it took off. Like, again, there is a little bit of love. I'm not gonna lie. Again, didn't have a huge elaborate business plan or marketing scheme. And it was, the timing was good for us. And it's still, it's still great down there. It's still, a lot of, foot traffic and people moving in and out. And at the time we had a lot of coaches. So I think that's what, and also I was younger. I was in hustle mode. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I'll run back and forth. I don't care.
Work every day, morning, afternoon.
That's just what I was doing on the computer at night, It's just.
So were you working at both at the time? Was that kind of like, were you kind of overseeing? Were you coaching at both? Kind of.
Yeah, so I was coaching at both and overseeing just like, all the little stuff. My mind body was like all, you had the 2 locations of the time. So it was easy to kind of monitor that from the back end. There's 2 separate emails, but yeah, all the admin stuff I wasn't coaching too many classes, maybe like 3 here at both locations. So my class load wasn't too high, but overseeing the, like, which didn't need toilet paper, which needs more, sort of vital.
Yeah, I'm like, you if you don't know that side of the business, you're just basically looking at the wads, the equipment, the people, but like the toilet paper, you got into we got into arguments here. Like it's huge, and it's actually you have to be on top of every day.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that you have to be on top of because it, I think. I always look at businesses with a fire tooth comb because of being a business owner, but people do start to notice certain things that they start to slip, and then maybe they know something else, and you just don't want to, you don't want that to be shown. So it might be the Virgo in me also, just everything needs to be organized and stocked at all times. But it's a lot of little things, like paper towels in bathrooms. Are they refill them, like stuff like that.
This is it's just coming to my mind now. This question. And you could plead the fifth on this, but when you open up a second one, and this is a fear I have, and I'll be honest about it, when you open up a second one, Did you worry at all about less FaceTime at OG Gym as you were trying to grow the other one? Or was it like you were, no, Dave, I was going there both places every single day. Like I made sure I avoided that issue.
Yeah, I don't think at the time it was an issue. I think we had some good coaches in Fairfield. And since I still did show my face at both places, it wasn't like all of a sudden like, where does she go? She's in Florida. She's a remote coach. You're doing that in Florida. That one is a different issue. Yeah. So I think I was able to balance it pretty well. Where it didn't really affect things that way.
All right, good. So that's something that I know a lot of people do stress about when they start opening the idea up of opening up a second affiliate. It would be you never want to kind of lose track of that founding father place, but you also, if you need to grow, you do need to kind of spread the wings and also open up the opportunity for someone else to maybe give a bigger role. Like, were you giving bigger roles to other people, or was it just maybe, hire another coach and get more volume of coaches in both spaces?
Yeah, we gave a bigger role to a couple of people in Fairfield, and we had a pretty good amount of interns like interested. Again, like everyone was excited about CrossFit. Everyone wanted to be a CrossFit, which was great. So when we had a good amount of coaches, which I think was a big deal. So I think like depending on like your resources, whether it's financial, whether it's bodies, coaches, if you can split the resources and split yourself evenly, because you obviously can't do everything. You know what I mean? Oh, you can't coach 15 classes. So yeah. As far as opening up a second place, like just realistically thinking about both of those things. Like, if you don't have the bodies, or if you don't have the time, can you have the resources to pay someone to do that? Or do you want to pay someone to do that? So like for me, like I wanted to do it. So yeah, like I would rather keep the money for myself, and then does someone when I would pay a salary to someone to oversee something. Yeah, I was cool doing this, so I was okay. But if you don't have that time, then you have the resources to pay someone to do something like that.
Yeah, that's one thing about being an entrepreneur, right? Is that there's usually options.
Yeah,
don't mistake options for easier, right? Like there's always like rob Peter, pay Paul. Like if you are going
give it a take.
Yeah, it's not like I've always viewed my job here is like it has changed over the years a little bit, and I have had people ask me like, oh, like what did you like better, like 6 years ago or right now? And like neither. Like I don't really but they're different. They're very different jobs, and I don't think you ever get to a point where you're just at complete ease, where you just like get to put your feet up on the desk and chill.
Yeah, definitely not.
It just not in this kind of business anyway. In regard to you and your own training and your own like quest of fitness, because I do think it can be very easy to lose track of yourself when you're pouring so much into others. As a coach, as an owner, as a boss, like you always have, I think a good trait that you have is that you're selfless, right? Like you do put a lot of other people first. And that's a big part of the reason why you and Brazen have done well. Was this what you thought it would be when you started? Like when I started, I was like, hey, I get to work out 5 hours a day every day because I own a gym. And now it's like, dude, I can't work out. I can only work out twice this week. Yeah. Were you able to, I hate to say put yourself first sometimes, but were you able to fill your cup so that you could pour from a full cup rather than an empty cup?
Yeah. And it's, exactly what you said in the beginning. And that's what we did. Like I worked out all day. Yeah. And then we went to Chipotle.
This guy did the same one every time.
Great business. Like you just work out and eat Chipotle, and people can't work out. And and it's obviously evolved to like I think honestly there's a couple of years where it was tough for me to work outside. I'm not gonna lie, and part of me is coaching these classes, and I'm like, God, I'm not even working out. I'm telling you to do this. Where to work? I saw I can simply demos. Oh my goodness, I can do the demos, but yeah, Jeff and I talk about this a lot. Jeff was my head programmer and head coach before he became owner.
Right.
That him and I have been, and yourself have been working out for so long. So if you do have those, I feel like we've just created this base that if we do fall off for even like a year where you're maybe only working out once or twice, like you hadn't fallen off. You get it back. Yeah, you get it back. Like it's not gone completely. Like, and you're still moving, you're still coaching. You're not just sitting like on a couch all day. But yeah, I mean, my workouts from year one to now are completely different.
Absolutely, yeah.
We also didn't know much about like recovery. No, mobilize, stretch.
Oh, yeah, it was like whatever wrong.
Yeah, like there was just like you were saying, maybe there was a YouTube video on how to snatch. Like We didn't know how to snatch. We just
I bet your yoga background helps a little bit.
It did.
Just the mobility demands of CrossFit are high. They are. So if you want to do it all.
Yeah, I was super grateful for that because, like I said, the 200 hours is 200 hours of classroom time. And, you're level 1, you don't actually coach in level 1. You learn about coaching, but you're not in front of a group of people.
Right.
But I remember my first yoga class, like, I was so nervous. I was, like, ready to throw up. Because I had never, like, taught in front of a group of people. And I'm like, holy crap, it's like...
It is nerve-wracking.
It is.
Probably take that for granted. It's like second nature. But
No,
I realized it.
legit fear. I surf stuff.
Yeah. You get, like, sick almost.
Like, sick.
Even like now, never nervous talking to a class, but I'm always nervous talking in front of a crowd of people. I don't know how. It's like if I have to talk to at our holiday party or even our open party at something, I'm always nervous.
Yeah, it was different because it's like the whiteboard is your comfort zone. I don't know, but yeah, totally.
So CrossFit has changed a lot, good and bad, in my opinion. I do think there's old school CrossFit, new school CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily talking too much about like the leadership changes. Just I've never really felt like it had a big impact on CrossFit, like who's the CEO. Like I've never really felt it mattered. I like the guys that are up there now and I trust them, but to me it's Bison. Like that's what we're trying to do. But things have changed, and maybe even your viewpoints have changed on CrossFit. I think everything evolves over time, and it doesn't need to be good or bad, left or right. It's just like it has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sense that at any particular time? Was it pre-COVID, post-COVID? And did that impact the gym at all? Like I've had another affiliate owner said once he stopped competing, he felt the gym changed. Not better or worse, but yeah, changed. Did you sense that in yourself at all, that as things changed for you in regard to CrossFit, did it impact the affiliate?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would probably agree with whoever you just spoke to. So, yeah, the competing days, like, again, you did like 2-3 days, like you were taking care of yourself, right? You were just going hard every day. And Jeff, who was my head programmer, he's younger than me, but he was kind of in those same years, just a little younger, but was still in the competing days and, the 2 days, 3 days. So we both went through that phase, and you and I have always shared a very similar fitness philosophy. And we also kind of like hit our breaking point at the same time, For me personally, it came through in some autoimmune issues that came out. Obviously, working out is a good stress, but for anyone who has any autoimmune issues, too much working out can actually be bad stress. So that was kind of my like, okay, maybe I can't can you maintain this? So it was kind of like a big slap in the face. Maybe others had like a subtle like, all right, this is too much to maintain, and probably too much for like your average person to maintain.
Yep.
If you're competing, fine, that's a whole different, and
a different goal too.
Yep. So yeah, we definitely changed our programming more. Really, volume and intensity was a couple things that we focused on, making sure we even do, 500 pull-ups a week, just really watching the volume of certain movements, and that we're not going hard fast every day. Like there's days where we're like, guys, we want you to take this slower. Look, get on the rower and have a conversation. Call it conversational pace. Like, it's okay to have those like lower intensity days.
How do you say required in some cases?
Totally. So those are two major changes that we did. Just again, the volume of certain workouts or just overall workload. Kind of look at a week.
Yep.
Noted by them.
Yep.
And just varying the intensity levels and being like, it's okay to not like give your 100% every day.
You don't have to be sore every week.
Yes, like you shouldn't be that sore. And even my private clients, like when I meet them, I'm like, my goal is not not to crawl out of here. Like that's not like my goal. Like you should be a little sore, but you should feel good. Like I don't want you limping around, right? It's not necessarily the best thing to do. Like the whole Pukey the Clown, I think was like, come on, guys. It's little, and I mean, I've seen it. It's happened. I mean, not lately. And I'll prod that, but that's not really sustainable or healthy. So
I mean, you are here for health, and we always tell people like, why are you here? Like, you do need to know, and it can change over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you are like, hey, go get her, want to get everything out of it I can, we're never going to criticize it.
Totally. Yeah.
But if your answer is not that, don't go balls out 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Like learn how to temper back a little bit, or come in on the days where it is conversational paced. And even though it doesn't make you feel like you did something extravagant.
Yeah.
Those days are the ones that you probably need more of, and the ones where you're crushing yourself probably need a little less of. Never going to say never do it.
Yeah.
But if it's we do think about, one of my coaches and I would talk about, we do think some people have like an addiction to really like going all out.
Yeah.
Is it makes them feel good for the rest of that day because mentally, because it is hard. It's admirable that someone does it.
Yeah.
Is it smart? And I think in time you do start to kind of really fall in line with, all right, well, what are my actual goals and what is the path there? The path that we just previously talked, Pukey the Clown, that's not the path to your optimal health.
Yeah.
So that is something I think a lot of us that have been doing this a long time, we've seen other people do it too. We've seen the good, bad, ugly of going hard all the time.
Yeah.
That's where I think people that have been doing it a decade plus can really give good input on what the changes are macro level that you can kind of apply to your individual quests.
Yeah. I always want to say that's kind of, you can generalize that a little more outside of CrossFit. Even just like, HIIT, boot camp, like it's the idea of like, you got to like be on the floor after a workout, and that doesn't mean it's a good workout.
It really only means your heart rate got really high. At the end of the day, that is what it means. It doesn't mean you worked hard.
It's so high that you need to sit down. My ass on.
Yep. Now coping with that and dealing with like, all right, viewpoints, autoimmune issues, body issues. Some people is injury based, right? Like I know a lot of people that have gotten hurt and like, all right, I gotta stop doing my heavy squat snatches or max squat.
Yeah.
The business side, coping with the ups and downs of that, because it is the word I always have been thinking in my head for 8 years now. It is such a relentless job. Like I don't know what your schedule's like. We're open 363 days per year, as early as 4:30 in the morning, as late as 9 at night. There aren't many businesses that can say they're open that many times other than like a Walgreens or a 7-Eleven. How did you cope? And then you had COVID, right? How did you cope with the roller coaster of emotions and financials and goals and people, right? People can cause a lot of stress in our lives. Relationships can change. Was there something that you were able to kind of fall back on, or a piece of advice you'd give a gym owner that has not yet gone through that roller coaster complete as much as they think they have yet?
Yeah. And that's, it's tough because, the type of gym we're talking about it's a community. So it's emotional. Like you know each other and you get to know your coaches and you get to know your members, and you're going to have shit that comes up from all ends, from your coaches, from members, from management. There's just going to be stuff. And, I can't say I was the best at that. Like I would see an email at like 8:30 at night and it might keep me up the whole night. And I'm like, God, why can't I just wait till tomorrow morning to read it? It's tough because it's also, again, it's a passion. You care about it, and you're like, you do the best you can, and then you get some, little email that's not the best, or it's just, and it hits you, and I can't say I'm the best at dealing.
A gym owner said this debate recently. I'm like, wow, it was so true. And he goes, you can have a client for 8 to 10 years, and to each their own. They always say, don't take business personal. He or she leaves the gym. You worked with them for 8 to 10 years. Good memories, bad memories, tears, and you get emails like, "Hey, I need to cancel."
Like, yeah, yeah.
And the guy, it feels like you're getting broken up with. And it's like, and it can happen in a gym. It can happen 60 times a year.
Yeah. It's
and I was like, wow, that was like a great illustration. And I told my wife that. She goes, well, no one ever dumped me, so I don't know. So. But that is something I think I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, but you also can't let it bring you down that far. But you also, maybe it was a sign to me that I was getting too inflated that, all these people love my gym. You can't feel that way either.
Yeah.
Like you always had to make sure that if someone's here, you have a good membership, you have a good month, you get all these new members, you don't lose anyone. Oh, look at us. Like, you can't get too high about that. You can't start thinking we're doing such a good job. You just have to stay straight and narrow. I think that's a goal. That's something I would try to get everyone to get on board with is, did you have any like side hustles, other jobs, or activities out of CrossFit that helped you escape from the stresses of owning business that are 24/7, 365?
Not really, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
right.
No.
Yeah. If you were to go back, would you have done that at all? Like, would you think that would have helped you, or do you think you're just too busy for it?
Probably, but I probably would have been too busy for it. Yeah.
And maybe not enjoyed as much.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I was able to do this past like couple years, like where you talked about golfing earlier.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
So, but that would,
We're both really good, by the way.
yeah, we're like, you want to take us on before. Yeah, I would just say in the recent years where I kind of structured things a little bit better. I've had some more time, but 6-7 years ago,
There's no time activity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done some like side work, like I had a job. I've actually, and I don't tell many people about it, I've had a part-time job outside of CrossFit since we've been open. And I did it back then because I needed more money.
Yeah.
I made no money when we started. And I've kept it. And I've had the opportunity to let go of it a few times. And yes, it does add some work and stress, but I've actually found that it's my go-to when I need to like get away from memberships and relationships and all that stuff. And it's really actually been a blessing for me in more ways than one. But that's a suggestion I would give. Now, moving on to, you owned for 14 years.
Yeah.
Right. And, I don't take this lightly that you ended up selling Brazen. And again, we just talked about emotional, it's hard and everything. And what was, without you opening the door too much or just open up as much as you want, was there a specific reason? Was it, hey, it's just time for me to move on? Was there like, hey, this is a reason why the eyes kind of sit back and reflect on to selling Brazen?
Yeah. And I feel like it's cheesy, but everything happens for a reason. Yeah, when it's supposed to happen. Jeff and I had conversations in the past because he's obviously grown with Brazen and his role with us and how he might continue to grow. So it was thrown on the table years ago, maybe one point, we could talk about ownership, partnership, whatever, just have that conversation. So he pretty much came to the conversation over the summer and we just kept talking and he was very respectful and he's like, what do you want to do? He's like, I would like to be a bigger part. That's and he kind of left it in my hands and it was like, whoa, a lot to, it was like, I knew I would eventually I couldn't do this forever, but now it's like, oh, here's the opportunity right now, so yeah, it was kind of heavy, but like bittersweet and good and bad. And I think the easiest, cleanest way was, I thought about, partnering or keeping a percentage. And the best decision for me, for Jeff, and for the gym, I think was just to like, you take it. Yes, I know Jeff and he's super creative, super smart, and he has a vision. And I don't want to hold it back, and when you have a partner, after like, Christy, can I paint the wall? Christy, can I do this? Christy, just do it. So I just think that was the best, is give him the reins and let him go, and so he can just do his own thing. And I knew he'd take off with his vision. And it's kind of like a fairy tale ending because I know he's just going to continue building on what Brazen, the foundation. So I couldn't ask for a better exit, to be honest with you.
No, that is optimal. You care about it. It's like some people call the gym their baby, and like whether that's too much or not is kind of irrelevant. It's like, it's so awesome to see that, you built it from scratch, but it's going to continue to go on. I remember reading a book when we first started. It's like, there's level 1 of a successful business. Like, you do well, you make your money, you make yourself happy, blah, blah, blah. But if it can thrive without you, like, that's the ultimate sign of success. And like, it doesn't need to be about you and your effort. Like, it's only thriving because of you, getting it off the ground, but now continue to thrive because of other people. And this is what real impact is, right? You've helped Jeff and now he's helping others.
Yeah.
And that started from you. And that's got to give you some pride. And I hope, you might not want to say it because of how humble you are, but that is something I hope you can really reflect on the rest of your life and know that you open the door for Jeff and others to impact other people's lives.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear. Yeah, and that's the thing that hasn't really sunk in yet. But thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Now, we'll wrap this up soon, but just kind of looking back on it, speaking of pride and what you're proud of, what do you, if I had to ask you one thing, and if you need to parlay it to two, you can, but what are you most proud of or happy of when you just look back on that 14-year run? Like, something you overcame? Was it someone you impacted? I mean, there's like a coaching tree of people that started at Brazen. I'm thinking about Courtney right now, like just people that just like they started there and now they're out and just a big deal elsewhere. Like, what's something that you're really proud of that you really want to hang your hat on and smile about when you get to look back on this?
Yeah, Courtney's a great example. She's actually taking the space upstairs at Brazen, and she's going to be heading down to her home base. And and now Jeff owns the place. So I was like, those two kind of really definitely stick out, and that they just joined as members. Barely could squat, and now it's like, look at all this time and then where they've grown, and then just to anyone who's like, life isn't changed by the movement, by just moving, whether you feel that way better with your kids. Like, there's been a few marriages, like people met at Raising, like people got married, having kids now. So it's crazy. It's brought people together. It's brought fitness into people's lives. And that's just really, satisfying and that was the main goal, like to share this movement with others to feel better, so, that's just, and you forget how many people, like how many names are in your mind, like how many people curse out the doors. It's like infinite, and then you hear a name, you're like, oh yeah, that person. So it's like the list like is longer than you even can remember.
Yep.
And you just hope they're continuing their fitness and feeling better. So yeah, it's a pretty cool feeling to just sort of like change people's lives to fitness.
Yep. Is there anything that you would have changed, or are you someone that says like, hey, you got to go through everything, good and bad, to really get to where you are? Because, regrets is different. I don't want to use regret. I don't like that word. But I turn it down a little bit. Got Brock in the corner, everybody. Is there anything that you would have done differently, just for the big picture? Like something you would have done small in a moment. Like, it could be as simple as, hey, I wonder who bought stones from Rob Orlando.
I would say a couple years ago, I started working with a business coach, which helped me structure a lot. And I would say maybe implementing something like that sooner. But also, I don't think my ego would have let me, because I was like, oh, this is working. It's fine. Why do I need your help?
Just harm when you eat well.
Yeah, I'm like, this is good. Like, what do you know more about my gym than I do? So I think that, and we were doing well, but maybe we could have been doing better. So I think maybe, taking on someone who has, like, I didn't have a business sense, like I do this sense and I figured it out. Right. But perhaps doing something like that a little earlier. Maybe we would have boosted us a little bit.
That's common. I went on to a summit, the CrossFit Northeast Affiliate Summit, a couple months ago, and they said that's a very common story with CrossFit owners. It's a kind of a different skill set. Some people have both, but you're like a people person, love CrossFit, culture changer. A lot of times those people don't have the businesses, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
So if you knew that earlier, you maybe would have made that change a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, implement a little bit of both.
Were you happy with how you took care of yourself over the years? Like, was there like just like the sleep cycles of a CrossFit coach? Yeah, really rough. I still to this day struggle with that. Am I actually being healthy by living this way and being stressed out, that kind of stuff? Like, not that unhappy stress. When I say stress, just always busy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Was there anything that you would have done for yourself individually different, beyond the business side?
Yeah.
To make things a little bit smoother for yourself?
Yeah, I think I think my biggest struggle with running the business was not having an off switch. Like, obviously it's hard to have an off switch, but even if that was like an hour night, because I would just, my laptop's always so there,
looking at you
until I go to bed. So, but putting even like an hour aside a night to just shut my phone off or not look at my laptop, because I just would always go to my emails, like, my phone emails. So that was what I struggled with, like just kind of just compartmentalizing a little time for myself, just to not think about the business. I think that could be huge for somebody, and something that I definitely struggle with across, me time, I guess, because it's consuming, and I let it consume me.
If you started golf 10 years ago, how do you be a scratch golfer by now?
Exactly.
So
coulda, woulda.
Let us know, like, what are you doing now? Like, where did this lead you to? What's the next chapter for Christy Link?
Yeah. So, obviously did a lot of soul searching and thought about maybe just taking a completely different path, and realized that would be weird. I've been doing this for so long, and I also have some clients that I've had for 4 years. I'm just like, oh, now I'm doing something else. Yeah. So, I would like to get into a little more like golf specialized fitness.
Okay.
Which is, it's nothing that's reinventing the wheel, but it's just kind of packaging it a little bit differently for someone who wants to perform on the course and absolutely, not be sore, doesn't need to 1 rep max a back squat.
Yep.
I'd like to kind of get a little more into that and just focusing on one-on-ones and small group training.
Hey everybody, this is Dave. I just wanted to let you know here that we ran into some technical difficulties at this point of the episode. We actually only had about a minute 30 left. So this is the actual end of the episode. Just want to cut you off and wondering what happened. We did have some technical difficulties that made us cut it short just by a minute or two. But we thank Chrissy for coming on so much. She crushed it. And she definitely is a pioneer as a gym owner, as a female gym owner, one of the most successful to ever do it. And well, thanks so much. We'll probably have her on again at some point. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.